Okay, let's get into this. Ever have that feeling? Like you found a way to make money that works so well, it almost feels, I don't know, illegal.
Haha. Yeah, like you're getting away with something.
Exactly. I actually remember a time, I was in my 20s, and my income, it somehow passed the combined pay of the CEOs of McDonald's, Ford, Motorola, Yahoo, and IKEA.
Wow. That's quite a benchmark. Must have felt surreal.
It felt totally wild, and that feeling, that speed of just wealth creation, that's really what we're digging into today.
It's fascinating, isn't it? What actually allows for that kind of really rapid growth? It's usually not just luck. It's specific strategies being applied, often ones that seem a bit counterintuitive.
Absolutely. And we've got a great source for this deep dive, someone who's actually done this, experienced this kind of like explosive growth multiple times.
So real-world experience, not just theory.
Right. So our mission here is to pull out the key principles behind making money that fast. And these aren't just ideas, they're things you, listening, could potentially use.
Actionable insights.
Exactly. We're going to focus on three main things that really stood out. First, really getting how value works through something called the value equation.
Okay.
Second, how to get cash flowing incredibly quickly using client finance acquisition.
Interesting term.
Yeah. And third, how to build serious wealth by focusing on permanent customers and business valuation. They call it wealth alchemy.
Alchemy, huh? Sounds intriguing.
It really is. So, ready to jump in and see how this stuff might work?
Let's do it. So, starting point.
Mm-hmm.
What actually determines the price someone pays? It's not just your costs, right?
No, definitely not. It's the value the customer thinks they're going to get. Our source has this great story about his dad reacting to a $42,000 annual fee for a gym owner event he ran.
42,000. Wow, I can imagine the reaction.
Oh yeah, his dad was like, do people know it costs that much?
Yeah.
But it proves the point, you price based on the customer's perceived gain, not your expenses.
So how did he explain it?
He asked his dad, basically, if you could put in $1 and reliably get 5 back, would you? And his dad's answer was, well, yeah, but what's the catch?
Right, like how likely is it? How much work? How long does it take?
Exactly. And that right there leads us straight into the first big idea, the value equation.
Okay, so the value equation. Our source breaks it down into 4 parts, 4 things that really shape how much a customer values your offer and, what they'll pay.
Right. First is the dream outcome. What's the big thing the customer really wants? For those gym owners, it was probably more money, a more successful business. For someone else, maybe weight loss, better relationships, status even.
The core desire. Makes sense.
Then there's the perceived likelihood of achievement. Or you could call it risk. How sure is the customer that you can actually deliver that dream outcome?
That's the reliably get 5 back part your source's dad was questioning. What's the guarantee or the proof?
Exactly. Third is time delay.
Yeah.
How fast do they see results? People generally value speed, right? Instant gratification is powerful.
The sooner the better, usually.
And fourth, effort and sacrifice. How much work or hassle is involved for the customer? How much do they have to change their life? The less they have to do, the more valuable it seems.
So less work, less waiting, high certainty of getting exactly what they want. That's the ideal offer.
Yeah, our source says the ultimate offer is immediate, effortless, guaranteed, and delivers precisely the dream outcome in the way the customer prefers. Think about that.
It's a powerful framework.
He uses this example, a cheap plastic table versus a $20,000 hand-carved wooden table. They both hold stuff, fundamentally.
But the dream outcome is totally different.
Totally. One is basic function, the other is status, art, and experience. And that $20K price, it's justified by hitting those other value points, maybe free white glove delivery and setup.
Reduces the effort and time delay for the buyer significantly.
Right. So you're not just selling a table, you're selling this whole package of value.
And what's really key here is that by consciously tweaking these elements, you can move beyond just competing on price. You're selling something much bigger.
And the effect on profit, it can be huge. The source gives this example. A $100 table, maybe $20 profit. Compare that to a $1,000 table with, say, $620 profit.
So a 10x price increase.
Gives you a 31x profit increase. That's the power of really nailing this value equation.
That's incredible. It shows price isn't arbitrary. It's tied directly to that perceived value.
And he saw this play out. He mentions a consultant in the same field, similar number of clients coming in, but wildly different results. Our source's business had like 8x the revenue and 50x the profit.
50 times. just by applying these principles
Yeah.
better. Wow.
Yeah, they were both getting customers, but one was just way better at capturing the value they were
It
creating.
really drives home the point.
Mm.
And that McKinsey survey stat you mentioned.
Oh yeah, 85% of companies compete mainly on price, but only 1% actually win that game. It's a race to the bottom.
Whereas the advantage is being the most valuable, even if that means being the most expensive. Like Dan Kennedy said, there's no prize for being second cheapest.
Exactly. So for you listening, it's about figuring out what your customers really dream of their future wallet, as the source puts it, and then making your offer the easiest, fastest, surest way to get there.
You're selling the transformation, not just the features.
Okay, so that's strategy one, understanding and maximizing value. Now, let's get into the second key for that potentially illegal feeling growth, selling with a really fast cash conversion cycle. This is where things can get pretty exciting for a business.
Yeah, this one focuses on the speed, how fast you turn effort into cash you can actually use to grow even faster. Velocity is key here.
Totally. And the source has this wild personal story. He apparently hit rock bottom, like $1,000 left. But then, in just 10 months, he did $10 million in sales, $6 million profit.
10 months from $1,000. How?
The main engine was an insane return on ad spend, like 100 to 1. Every dollar he put into ads brought back $100 in sales.
100 to 1. That's almost unbelievable.
Right, and that fueled this massive growth cycle. It becomes possible through what he calls client finance acquisition.
Client finance acquisition. Okay, break that down.
It's basically using the money from your first few customers to pay for acquiring the next customers. You're using their money as a sort of loan to fuel growth.
Okay, so instead of spending your own capital up front.
Exactly. Think about the normal way. Spend $100 to get a customer. They buy a $100 thing. Maybe you make $50 profit. You're actually down $50 initially on that customer, right?
Yeah, you have to wait for future purchases to make back the acquisition cost.
But this new way flips that. You aim to structure that first sale so the cash you collect immediately covers the $100 it costs to get them, plus the $100 cost to get the next customer, plus your cost of goods, maybe $50. So you need to bring in $250 right away from that first transaction.
Ah, I see. So the first sale immediately funds the next cycle of growth and covers its own costs. It's self-propelling.
Precisely. And when you're getting returns like 100 to 1, or even just enough to cover that formula, your marketing budget can theoretically be unlimited.
Because every dollar spent immediately generates more than enough cash to replace itself and fuel further spending.
Yeah. It's like having this super efficient money machine. And this is why, really wealthy people often own businesses with strong, fast cash flow. They see their businesses as mini investing machines.
Generating returns potentially daily or weekly, much faster than traditional investments.
For sure. So connecting this back for the listener, think about customer acquisition not just as an expense, but as a potential high-yield investment if you structure the cash flow right.
Got it. Are there examples of this working?
Oh, yeah, plenty. His United Fitness gyms, they apparently open new locations every 6 months with zero outside capital, just by making their ads bring in cash immediately, like spend $100, get $2,500, $3,000 back fast.
Wow.
Then Gym Launch 1.0, making $100 per launch on just a few thousand in ads, no gym overhead. Then the licensing model scaled to $10 million in 10 months.
That's rapid.
And Prestige Labs, another company, Allen, both hit $1.7 million a month really quickly.
So it works across different models, gyms,
Yeah.
info products, licensing, supplements.
Seems like it. The core principle is designing that initial sale to generate immediate cash for reinvestment.
And there's formula for this.
Yeah, the basic equation he gives is 2x case plus co-GS go to 30-day cash collected, which is basically your gross profit.
Okay, so 2 times customer acquisition cost plus cost of goods sold needs to equal the cash you get in the first 30 days.
Right. Put simply, aim to get back twice what it costs you to get and serve a customer in cash within about a month.
And why 30 days specifically?
Because that often lines up with credit card billing cycles. You can spend money on ads on a card, collect cash from the customer to pay it off before interest hits, and keep the cycle going without needing upfront capital.
Clever. Using the float.
Yeah. Now, a big hurdle people face is thinking, well, nobody in my industry does this, so I can't.
The limiting belief trap.
Exactly. But he argues you absolutely can. Maybe you get customers to prepay for a quarter, but you give them a discount or some extra value up front for doing it.
So challenging the industry norms around payment terms.
Right. The main takeaway is, don't let the cost of getting customers or lack of immediate cash stop you. The mantra is, ask to get paid sooner.
Be proactive about structuring payments for cash flow.
He uses this analogy of a capital stack. Usually the employee gets paid last, but he says structure it so the church, like the most important payment, which is funding growth, gets paid first, like a royalty off the top.
Position your business to capture cash early. Powerful idea.
So how do you actually get that cash faster? Two main ways. Raise your prices.
Based on value, as we discussed.
Right. Or get customers to buy more upfront through compelling offers. And people shouldn't be afraid to make offers. He stresses that people like buying things that solve their problems well.
Especially if it's convenient and timely.
Totally. He tells this story about a weight loss business. People who turned down the main gym service, they offered them nutrition seminars instead.
A related but different offer targeting the same core need.
Exactly. And it boosted their average sale value because they captured more of those potential customers.
That leads into the hyper buying cycle, doesn't it?
Yeah, the idea that businesses miss out by not offering related stuff right after someone buys. Like, someone buys running shoes.
They probably need socks, maybe shorts, maybe a water bottle.
Right. Offer it then and there. Make it easy. Capture more of that immediate buying intent.
And crucially, each of those extra offers still needs to provide real value, aligning with the value equation we talked about earlier.
Good point. It all ties back together. Okay, so we've hit value and we've hit fast cash flow. Now for the third piece, the one called wealth alchemy. This is about permanent customers, business valuation, and taxes. This is where really big long-term wealth gets built.
Right, shifting the focus from just immediate cash to building a valuable, lasting asset.
Exactly. He uses a software example to explain it. Let's say it costs you $100 to get someone to sign up for a free trial,
Right.
and your software is $100 a month. If 1 in 3 trial users converts to paid, your actual cost to get a paying customer, your CAC, is $300.
Makes sense. $100 cost for 3 trials yields 1 paying customer.
Now, here's the alchemy part. Let's say 1 in 3 of those paying customers sticks around basically forever. They become a permanent customer.
Okay, so your cost to acquire a permanent customer is 3 times the initial CAC, so $900.
Right. You spent $900 to get someone who pays you $100 a month, which is $1,200 a year.
That's already a great return year after year.
Mm-hmm.
$900 invested yields $1,200 annually. Fantastic.
Oh, wait, it gets, as he says, nasty, especially with businesses like software that get valued on multiples of revenue. Let's say it trades at a 10x multiple of its top-line revenue.
Okay, common for SaaS companies.
That single permanent customer generating $1,200 a year suddenly represents $12,000 in enterprise value for the business.
Wow. So each $900 investment to get a permanent customer adds $12,000 to the company's overall value.
Potentially, yes. That's the leap. That's the alchemy.
And the tax angle.
The really powerful part is that increase in the company's value, that $12,000 jump per customer. It's often not taxed until you actually sell the business. It's asset growth, not just immediate income.
So you're building wealth on paper, tax-deferred, potentially tax-free until a major event like a sale.
Exactly. He maps it out. Say you want a $120 million company value. Using our example, you'd need 10,000 of those permanent customers.
Okay, 10,000 customers times $12,000 EV each.
And acquiring them costs $900 each, so that's a $9 million marketing spend. But that $9 million investment generates $12 million in recurring revenue annually. And he adds $120 million to the company's value. That's the game.
Investing $9 million to create a $120 million asset that also throws off $12 million a year. That is alchemy. It explains the valuations of fast-growing tech companies.
Right. It's all about leverage getting way more out than you put in. He mentions the acquisition.com logo, the supply-demand curves on a fulcrum. That's what it represents.
Maximizing output from input.
Yes.
And permanent customers are a huge lever.
Totally. He contrasts 2 businesses, both with 300 customers. Business A trends through them, gains 300, loses 300 every year. Business B keeps its customers.
Business B is way more valuable, right?
Yeah.
Less risky, predictable revenue, compounding growth.
Exactly. Investors see that. They apply their own value equation. Business B looks way more likely to succeed long-term, takes less effort to maintain, faster path to returns for them.
Because time is working for Business B, not against it.
He uses Starbucks as an example. Their customer lifetime value is apparently huge, like $14,000.
$14,000 per customer. Incredible.
Yeah. Their cost to get a customer might be similar to Joe's coffee shop down the street, but Starbucks focuses intensely on making people come back again and again.
Creating that reoccurring purchase behavior,
Yeah.
even if it's not a formal subscription. Recurring versus reoccurring, important distinction.
Right. So how do you figure out your cost for a permanent customer? He suggests looking at your long-term retention. Like for an agency, maybe how many clients stick around for 2+ years. Find that ratio.
So if 1 in 5 clients stays 2+ years
Yeah.
and your normal CAC is $1,000, your permanent CAC is $5,000.
Basically, yeah. But he says a smarter way is to figure out who those permanent customers are. What do they have in common?
Identify the avatar of your best, most loyal customers.
Yes. Then tweak your marketing to specifically attract more people like that. You might even pay a higher SEC to get those specific people, but it's worth it because they turn into those super valuable permanent customers more often.
Optimize for permanent customer acquisition, not just any customer acquisition. Very strategic.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the 3 big strategies. 1, sell on value. Use the value equation to charge premium prices.
2, speed up your cash use client finance acquisition for a fast cash conversion cycle to fuel growth.
And 3, Wealth Alchemy focus on getting and keeping permanent customers to build massive enterprise value, leveraging those multiples.
And there was one final point, a sort of hack about taxes.
Oh, right. This ties into the Wealth Alchemy, building a really valuable business, growing that enterprise value. It can actually lead to a much lower effective tax rate than just trying to maximize your take-home cash profit each year.
How does that work?
Okay, imagine your business makes $3 million profit. Maybe you pay 50% tax, so you net $1.5 million cash. Now, compare that to using some of that profit to reinvest, maybe improve retention, build systems. And that effort adds, say, $12 million to the value of your business, taking it to maybe $120 million total value.
Okay.
You still paid the $1.5 million tax on the cash profit you generated. But that $1.5 million tax is now measured against a $120 million increase in your net worth, not just the $3 million cash profit. Your overall effective tax rate on wealth generated is much, much lower.
Because most of the wealth generated was in the untaxed appreciation of the asset, the business itself.
Precisely. And he suggests this is why you see founders in high-tax places like California, Musk, Zuckerberg back in the day, focusing so heavily on building enterprise value, not just maximizing annual taxable income.
It's a different game. Playing for asset growth, not just cash flow.
So as we wrap this up, maybe the question for you, listen, is which of these strategies, these kind of illegal-feeling ways to build wealth, which one resonates most? Which one could potentially make the biggest difference for you right now?
Yeah, it leads to a final thought to chew on. How can you start weaving these threads together? That intense focus on value, speeding up cash flow, and really building for the long term with permanent customers. How can that shift things for you?
We've really just scratched the surface here, but hopefully this deep dive gives you a new lens, a framework for thinking about growth and value creation in a maybe slightly different way.
A way that focuses not just on income, but on building real, lasting wealth. Now it's about exploring how you could apply these ideas.